What up, everybody? It's CryptoFur at steemit.com, CryptoBearKalaikai at Facebook, G_male_baby at Twitter, and pretty much the same stuff at YouTube. I'm not even going to say where I am at YouTube, because if you're watching this, you're on YouTube, and if you're watching this, you're linked from YouTube to those other platforms. So anyway, I just wanted to do a quick follow-up. Before I did some Bitcoin and cryptocurrency type videos, I also wanted to do a quick market summary and kind of what's going on since my last real video. Usually I do like weekly summaries and viewpoints, but I've been kind of getting busy since Christmas and New Year's. I've been too busy to do the videos, so I'm going to just kind of try to get myself back into that swing of things. But in the meantime, I've been posting things on Steemit, and I'm at 600 followers now. Thank you guys for following me. I'm gonna get that contest going eventually. Give me some time. I got some things I gotta iron out. January is still kind of busy. I guess as the new year kind of goes along, things should calm down a little bit more, and I should be able to get that contest going. But I do appreciate everybody who's following me on Steemit. Continue to upvote my stuff and to re-steam it, and we'll see if we can put that into hyperdrive with the contest that's coming up. I just need to get the rules together and get the stuff that I'm going to give away together. But anyway, this past Saturday was the 20th, was the anniversary of our president's election. And instead, what goes on? Oh, you got the communists marching. You got this FISA memo that's people want to see, but Democrats like Adam Schiff in California think that we're too stupid to understand what's going to be in those papers. Oh, really great. Is that how you think of the people? Democrats, you think we're stupid? In a lot of ways, the people who do support Democrats are stupid because they're kind of out of touch with reality. They don't know what's going on with the news. They're following fake news and getting all the false information out of it. But as of late, it seems like the dollar is going in the toilet. Now, I want to caution everybody. Every time the dollar is going in the toilet, you hear everybody talking about hyperinflation. And so they get you running into the hyperinflationary or inflation hedge type investments. And then what happens? You have a crash. When you have a crash, it takes all your money away. Now, let me reboot on that. What's been going on? You're seeing banks that are starting to have increased amounts of delinquencies on loan payments, on credit cards. They're having higher default rates. The banks are realizing larger and larger losses. This is totally reminding me of 2007, 2008, leading up to the financial crisis of that time. We saw the exact same thing. We heard the stories of, we're going to inflation. The government is printing money, money, money. Yes, the government is printing money. But currently, what are the things that have made this economy grow the way it is? It started with credit. So they start at a little base after a crash. The economy kind of levels out, all the damage is done, and we're starting on a new foot. The banks are a little bit scared to lend, but they start lending, and then business starts to grow again. So the banks start to lend more, and then business starts to grow again. So the banks start to lend more, and business starts to grow again. And what happens? People spend money, economy's growing, they get more and more in debt. At first they're scared to be in debt, but they start to get more courageous because they see they're keeping up with the Joneses. They see their neighbors and their buddies are buying things, and they have to go do the same thing. So they start putting those expenses on their credit cards too, and it starts to steamroll into inflate. This ball of debt starts to inflate, and then what happens? People start to get maxed out because they only make so much money from their work. This is a concept of why communists need to grasp. It's not, economics isn't that complicated. It's the same as your household. So your government functions the same way. They can't spend more than they make. So they keep putting things on the credit card, and eventually they're going to have to keep repaying that. And when their income doesn't match their outgo, it stops, right? And then they owe all this money, and their income can't service that amount that they owe. Eventually, the banks shut down the credit line. Same thing happens with our government. They put all this financing into markets, and they grow and grow, but when there's no production and the income doesn't match, there's no way they can continue to finance these things. So we have government shutdowns. So you have a government shutdown that happened. The Republicans and Democrats came to a consensus that they have to create a new budget so that they can keep this little game going. But the reality of it is, our country is bankrupt. It's bankrupt because we are communists now. We have a command economy. They control prices. It is not a free market because they control prices. They suppress prices using derivatives. And so they've gone into the silver and gold market. Whenever we feel inflation, you can see gold and silver go up, right? We're not seeing that right now, right? They suppress the price of gold and silver so that people don't go put their money into those things. Instead, they're forcing people to go into the economy because there's this illusion of prosperity. And Donald Trump has been riding the coattails of that. Why he did that, I don't know. I don't know if he's playing some kind of a chess game with the Democrats and the communists, or he's just trying to make it so that they can't claim that they're the reasons why there's prosperity. But you can only do that so long until it collapses. And Donald Trump even said that before he was elected president, that we have a problem with debt and our economy is artificial and China's taking advantage of us. None of that's changed. So the economy hasn't gotten better in 1 year. It hasn't really improved that much in 1 year. Donald Trump is using the tools available to the President of the United States to influence the minds of the population so that he can do certain things to take out the evil people who are abusing us. And I believe he's doing that. He's even putting them in positions where they reveal themselves to the public. So Mueller, he could have fired Mueller from the special counsel. He hasn't done that. He's allowed Mueller to stay on the special counsel investigating him, so that we find out Mueller's been involved with suppressing evidence, erasing evidence, covering up scandals and terrorist events and things like that. He put Christopher Wray in as the new FBI chief, and Christopher Wray hasn't fired any of the deep state guys in the FBI. And what happens? We find out now that Christopher Wray was formerly the attorney for his name's Chris Christie. Chris Christie's former attorney, where he had a problem with a cell phone and the cell phone disappeared, and it turned out it was in Chris Wray's safe. So we're seeing things that Chris Christie's probably involved in the deep state, and there Trump put him in the front. Maybe it's because Chris Christie had pushed, when he was back in the campaign, he was pushing Donald Trump to put these people into those positions. So it may not be a chess move, it may have been an accident, but the deep state people are still working together. Now we find out from this FISA memo and from other information drops from QAnon that there is a deep state secret society within all the alphabet groups like FBI, DOJ, CIA, NSA. All the alphabet groups have these communist elements, which our former president, who was assassinated, John F. Kennedy, mentioned in a press conference to the media, where he's talked about secret societies. And I posted that recently on Facebook about how he says we are facing a giant monolithic global conspiracy that is against the freedom of the West. And at that time, it was the Cold War, right? You had the communists versus the capitalists, or versus the Western states like the United States. And we had the Cuban Missile Crisis, the Bay of Pigs, those kinds of situations where Kennedy was facing Khrushchev, and there was the Cold War going on, where there wasn't a real hot war where they were shooting missiles at each other on a large scale. I mean, those things did happen, but it was mostly a war of ideologies. Well, that's happening now. Instead, what's gone on, he mentioned that we have secret societies, and they are repugnant in our culture of free and independent people, but they are here, and they're starting to infiltrate in the groups at that time. Now they are well infiltrated in the alphabet groups. So they're doing all kinds of things where they can assassinate presidents. They did assassinate Kennedy after that speech. That was one of his last speeches about secret societies, and he was assassinated by them. Well, now they want to assassinate Donald Trump. So the people have to wake up. We have to realize the people who support Hillary Clinton's, the Bernie Sanders, the Barack Obamas, they're stupid. They're supporting the very people who wish to enslave us. And every time we get a free president, someone who wants to support us as people, those people, that guy is demonized in the media. Whenever the president is lauded and praised in the media, you know there's a problem, because the media is part of the deep state. They have the secret societies within media already now, and they're assisting the deep state secret societies within the CIA, FBI, DOJ, and all that, because they changed the thinking, the programming of the American people by. When President Obama was out, oh, he was great. He was a great god of the American people. He could do no wrong, even though he took billions of dollars and gave it to a terrorist state, Iran. We have images and video of him dropping pallets in Iran. And those stupid people who still support him will still say, oh, that wasn't, he was a great president. You don't know what you're talking about. Because those people are also against us. They're enemies of our state. And they're bringing in illegal immigrants to overwhelm our system. And it sounds noble to want to help those people, but do those people really help our society that much? They are cutting out jobs for our own people. They don't pay taxes. How can they pay taxes? How can you prove they pay taxes? The Democrats like to use this term, undocumented immigrant. Well, if they're undocumented, how can you prove by document that they're paying taxes? They have to choose then at that point. If they're not documented, if there's no proof that they're paying taxes, they are choosing to, right? How do you prove that? I know a lot of illegal immigrants that I've met throughout my life. They're working. What do they tell me they do? They send money to their family at home. That's not taxing. That's not a tax they pay to our people. That's tax they're paying to another country. So it's money leaving our country. And it doesn't help them when our government prints more cash then. Because if they're going to send their cash to their families at home to feed their families at home, and our government decides to print more cash, it inflates the money supply and devalues that currency. When you have more of something, you don't want it, right? It's a principle of economics, marginal utility. With each marginal or with each additional thing you add, the usability or the efficiency goes down, right? So if you have a piece of pizza and you're hungry, that first slice is really good, but each slice you eat, more and more and more of that pizza, the more full you get. So if I give you another pizza, but after you finish the first one, you're not as hungry and you don't really want it as much. You don't value that pizza as much. Same concept with money. The more money I give you, you don't value it as much. It's different when you earn it, but when it's given to you, you don't value it as much. So we're seeing inflation. However, I'm cautioning everybody. The first thing that caused the markets to go up was credit. It was a big, when everybody is spending, it is a big leverage on the economy to drive it up. When that starts to taper and people can't afford anymore and that cuts off and they're not buying anymore and businesses are going out of business, the government comes in. They go to the Federal Reserve and the Federal Reserve prints money and the Federal Reserve acts like a giant investment company and goes into the markets and tries to prop them up when they're coming down. So as the credit starts to collapse, they start printing money and putting it up. So they're further taxing the American people, not just by debt. They're enslaving us by debt through credit cards, but they're also enslaving us by now, if you don't use credit cards anymore, you just earn your money and you pay for things in cash, your cash is getting destroyed because they're stealing the value from you. And they've been doing that until they don't. So when they stop propping up markets, the markets will crash. And this is why it's very dangerous. To go into cryptocurrencies, there's nothing backing them. I like cryptocurrencies. I think they're a great technology. I think they're a great way for us to transact in the future. We're already using cryptocurrencies through our dollar. And people don't realize it. Your dollar is not so much printed on paper anymore. Yeah, you may have some paper, but in reality, it's on a card. A credit card is digital currency. Your bank account is digital currency. You think the bank has vaults with crap loads of cash still in it? Somewhat. But most of the cash they send out. And send it back to the Federal Reserve. Most of your dollars are digitized. They're ones and zeros on a computer. It's binary code. Ones and zeros, on and off. And that's no different than a cryptocurrency. So people who are afraid of cryptocurrencies and people who say that cryptocurrencies can be the mark of the beast, I'm a Catholic. I believe that digital currency is the mark of the beast. But we're already using it. Do I agree to it? No. Do I use it? Yes, I use it. But if I could, would I get off of it? Absolutely, I would. They've enslaved us, and they've convinced us that digital currencies are the way to go. And they think that this new cryptocurrency situation is something different. It's not. It's not really new. Cryptocurrencies are not new. They're old things that are repackaged. They have new symbols on them, so you go, oh, this is new. But it's reality. It's the same as when governments printed the money. Now it's more independent. We have a chance to be free with them, though, because if independent, wise, educated, and alert people are the ones controlling cryptocurrencies, and we don't allow governments to go in and regulate them, we have a chance to make money, to remain anonymous, to not pay taxes to people who don't represent us, and become wealthy. If we become wealthy, then we can decide to better our society. We can invest money in roads. We can invest money in new hospitals and new buildings instead of letting the government decide that for us, which is what communists like to do. They don't like to, because communists are so selfish, they know they're not going to spend it on hospitals. Instead, they want to give it to the government to do that, to take care of that for them, because they know in their hearts they're too evil to want to take that money and do that. Because if they get any hands on money, they keep it for themselves. And so cryptocurrencies are a chance for us, the free, loving, caring people of the world who are sovereign and independent, who are not slaves, to be able to use that money for the good and the betterment of society and for ourselves. Free of government, free of authoritarian, free of centralization. Let the government deal with national security and making sure that fraud doesn't happen. That's the main thing. They make sure fraud doesn't happen. And that's what they'll use to try to get into the cryptocurrencies to regulate it. They'll use the excuse of, oh, there's fraud and there are ICO scams, so we need to come in and regulate this market. No. That's part of investment. You take a risk. I'm taking a risk of going into cryptocurrencies, but I want to take that risk, and it's money I can freely say that if I lose it, it's no problem, no big deal. I'm going to take a risk and see what happens with it. I don't need the government to come in and go, oh, you know what? This is too risky for you, so you can only invest in it if you have $100 million. That's how the rich get richer and the poor get poorer, because the poor can never invest in the things that the rich are getting rich in, because the government has now regulated it. They call it regulation to make you feel safe. But what they're doing is they're robbing you of potential wealth. And then they're going to tax you on your earned income, because you're going to be a slave. You're going to be working for somebody else. And earned income is the highest taxed income in the United States. So those of you who are communists, you are retarded. You are retards. You may not like me saying that, but you are retarded. You don't think about those things, do you? Regulation is government's way of keeping their people wealthy. And then you get this pyramid thing. You remember that Illuminati thing where the eye is up here and the pyramid's formed, right? And you got all the little bricks. The little bricks are you people that support that crap. And the eye is the authoritarian telling you their vision for the world. And they're regulating, meaning there's a bar here where none of these can get up into that level because they're only protecting their own. And you're going to have to work your butt off because you're the base supporting this. If you didn't support this, there'd be nothing underneath and it would topple and crash. But you communist dummies continue to support that. And you people who like to watch the fake news guys, the comedians that give news that make it sound so funny, and they criticize President Trump, but they love Barack Obama, who's part of this, and they love Jay-Z and Beyonce, who are part of this, and Oprah, who's part of this, and Weinstein, who's molesting people who are part of this, who are taking advantage from this perspective. They're taking advantage of everyone down below. Meanwhile, they criticize everybody who tries to make you successful and tries to make you free. And they call you racist if you're trying to prevent other people from coming in and diluting your wealth. And they call you xenophobic and stupid words like that to try to scare you so you don't fight for your rights. These are the people who are destroying us right now. These are your deep state people. They're so deep you can't even see them. Only the eye sticks out. Only the eye sticks out. This is all you see of them. You don't even know the face. On me you do, but on them you don't. All you see is the eye. And they're giving you their vision for the world, looking around, telling you this is the way it should be. But they're so deep, they're hidden. And we've allowed it by being stupid ourselves, by blinding ourselves and trusting other people in government to run things better than we could ourselves. Do you really believe that that's the case? You think other people can run your life better than you? They can make better decisions? Don't you know what kind of foods you like to eat? Don't you? You'd rather have someone else choose for you what is the appropriate thing for you to eat? Like Michelle Obama telling your kids what's healthy to eat? Has no flavor, no life anymore. I can understand if your health is suffering, all right, you need to be disciplined. If your health's not suffering and you like to have an ice cream every now and then, have a freaking ice cream. Yeah, there's fat in it. Yeah, there may be cholesterol in it. Yeah, there's sugar in it. But have one. Enjoy it. Just one. With someone like Michelle Obama, that ice cream doesn't exist anymore. She would erase it. She tried it in the schools, and what happened? Kids weren't eating. They weren't eating the food because they didn't like it. At some point, you got to live. You have to enjoy things. You know? Not so much that you make yourself sick. That in itself also you need to check, but you got to be on you. It's got to be self-discipline. As a free and sovereign individual, you need to decide for yourself. I have gout. Should I be drinking all this alcohol? I have diabetes. Should I be having all this ice cream and pastries and everything? You know, if you have those illnesses, it behooves upon you to watch over yourself. Government can't do it for you, because what the government will do if they're going to do it for you is they're going to do it for everybody. And then life becomes nothing. It becomes overregulated. And the only ones who will enjoy those great fruits of labor that you produce are the people up here. The wealthy people in that top triangle. They're the only ones who will have the money to do it. Look at Venezuela. I just watched a video that a communist person who was arguing with me online sent to me about Venezuela. That they go, you guys are such false propagandists. There's stuff in the stores in Venezuela. Oh yeah? When you watch the video, it says the stuff is on the east. In the west, their shelves are empty. So the Western media is actually portraying it accurately. But I got an even more accurate view because of the communists. The communist government is supporting their communist people in the East. Because the Cold War is still going on, like I said in the beginning. They've divided by East and West. Then you have that big Berlin Wall right in the middle. That when the communists try to flee to the West, when everything collapses over here, they're going to get shot. Right now it's good because you're getting it for free. But as soon as you can't get it for free anymore, because the government runs out of money, and they've stopped stealing money from the rest of the world because the rest of the world's running out of money, you watch what happens. It switches. And the West has to now support itself. And the East has to support itself. Guess who's going to survive better? The people who are used to supporting themselves. So, everything was proved true in that video that was trying to prove it false. So communists do a very bad job in defending their price controls, their regulations, their subsidies. Because what happens, government starts with subsidy first. They subsidize an industry. In other words, they give you money if you produce a certain amount. And if you produce a certain amount, you get that cash. If you can't make it to that certain bar, then you fail. You don't get subsidy and you eat the loss. It puts you out of business. So those ones that made it, like the farmers today, like the Monsantos and the Archer Daniel Midlands and all the agricultural companies that everybody hates for GMO, those were subsidized at one point by the U.S. government, the FDA, all that stuff. They were subsidized. They were given money to produce, and they were able to do it. And it put them above the bar. Everybody else went out of business. Now, once everybody's out of business, everybody complains, oh, the government's subsidized. So what does the government do? Okay, we're going to take subsidies away, and we're going to put regulations now. If you want to compete with these guys up here, you got to comply with our government regulations. But what do those government regulations do? They increase the cost for doing business. Because, for instance, let's say you use water. You have to use water to plant your plants and the ground, right? Everybody does. They have to use water and ground to plant the plants. Well, now they're going to make you pay for testing of the soil to make sure there are no pollutants. The water is going to need to be tested. You're going to have to make sure that your plants are in a certain temperature. Well, who controls the temperature on our level? On the government level, I know they're doing geoengineering. And that's why they like to push for climate change, because now it gives them more environmental reasons to tax you if you don't comply. They tax you so that you stay under that bar, and we stay in this little eyes place where we can control everybody and watch over you. Wake up, people. Wake up. Do not vote for government. You see what happens when that goes on. Thank God Hillary Clinton didn't get in. But as long as she's free still and alive, I still am worried about her. She can still cause tremendous damage to us. Thank God Bill Clinton is out of office. He's already done a lot of damage. But he's still alive and he's still free. Barack Obama is still young. Michelle Obama is still young. Their kids are very young. They're all very communist. You have to be very, very careful about communism because it will destroy you. It is seen throughout history and in the present that many of the communist nations are bankrupt and the people are starving. Except for the communist government supporters who get a handout, who need that handout because they are the propaganda that keeps going in the camera going, the government is great for you. Look at all the good things they're doing for you. Well, they're doing it for me. But if they did it for everybody, we'd be bankrupt. We would be rioting in the streets like they are in Venezuela. We'd be rioting in the streets like they did in Zimbabwe. And old people were dying. The old people are your knowledge of what's the past and what's good and stable. They were dying because the currency became worthless and they couldn't go into the river and pan for gold. And here in the U.S., you wouldn't be able to pan for gold to save yourself if the dollar went in the toilet. Why? Because they have derivatives on gold, and they can use those derivatives to sell more gold than there has actually been produced. That suppresses prices. If you sell more than there actually is, you keep the prices going down and down and down and down and down. That's why I love commodities. I've been investing in commodities. Commodities have been going up very nicely for me, in addition to the cryptocurrency. But again, people have been using credit to get into the cryptocurrency market. And most likely they're going to be using credit to get in the commodities market. When all the credit freezes and you can't use it anymore, those markets will crash. And the government will crash it more because they've been supporting it long enough to keep people trying to buy into it. They'll crash it more because they want you to beg for them to have a solution again. The problem has become the solution. And so you're stuck looking to them for the answers to the problems they create. Wake up, people. Wake the fuck up. Excuse my language. I'm sorry, as a Christian, I use that language. But I need to shock you into waking up. Because just talking to people doesn't wake them up. Talking to a communist makes them argue with you more. They resist! Because resistance leads to more government. Which is what they want. Because the government's been giving them freebies to resist. They pay for their protests. A true protester doesn't get paid to protest. They sacrifice themselves to protest. They don't get compensated by protesting because they're already suffering. So when you call it a protest, when you're going on a 1,000,000-woman march with these pink pussy hats that have been financed by George Soros, the billionaire, you are not a protester. You are a terrorist who is receiving financing to push an agenda. You are a corrupt organization. Because in China, when the people are suffering because the communist government is oppressing them, what do? They go to government buildings, they pour gasoline on themselves, and they light a match. That is a protest. Because there's no benefit to them. Their benefit is for the rest of society. To show the rest of society the problems that the government has created to the point that it's so bad they're willing to commit suicide to show you how bad the government is. That is a true protest. So when I see these financed ones like Black Lives Matter and they all have t-shirts that have been pre-printed, who printed that? It costs money to print a t-shirt. Have you ever tried to print a t-shirt? Go out and try it. Go try to print a t-shirt for yourself. See how much. They won't even let you just print one. You have to print in large numbers. It doesn't make sense for a business to print. They lose money to print only one for you. So this tells you these are organized people. They are making money off of what they're doing, and it's not a protest. It is a corrupt organization. With that, my passionate screaming at you guys, hopefully some of you will see. You will wake up to what's going on. And I don't know if we can protect ourselves. I don't know. In the end, to me, as a Catholic, Jesus is the only one who is more precious than silver, gold, Bitcoin, real estate, commodities, stocks, bonds, whatever it is you invest in. Jesus is the only one for me in the end. Because when we die, none of that other stuff you can take with you, right? And to the communist who is an atheist who doesn't believe in anything, they believe that once you die, lights out. They're missing out. Because there's a great richness that Jesus has offered us in eternal wealth. People don't believe in ghosts, but they exist. I've seen them myself. I've recorded them. It's something that science has not been able to prove or explain yet. But my camera has picked up ghosts. My recording devices have picked up their voices. I know ghosts exist. So I know there's an afterlife. So a communist atheist can't tell me there isn't, just because they haven't seen it. And they believe in themselves. They believe they're the salvation for themselves until they die. And lights out. Lights out? Once lights out happens, it's lights out good for you. In my belief, when lights out happens, the spirit on the other side, called the devil, gets you. And if you liked this here, you're going to love this on the other side. So it's something to think about. I believe that's what they're doing with the technology. The evil people know that this guy, the devil, is on the other side. And they're using the technology to try to bring him here. And they're using the technology to allow him to watch over you. Right? So wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Love y'all. Hopefully I'll be able to follow with another commentary. If not, this will do for a while. I feel good. I feel I got a few things off my chest. And I felt that I've given you enough information for you to prepare for what's coming. Have a good one. Take care.